Hello, my name is Chris Crawford. I'm a avid outdoorsman, and I'm here to talk to you today about how to line up a bait caster or put line on a bait caster. A bait casting reel like this one I have here is used mostly for bass fishing, but can be used for many different applications, including catfishing, or smallmouth fishing. Any kind of fishing you really want to do, you can do with this reel, but it is usually used for bass fishing. I'm a very avid bass fisherman. I fish many tournaments throughout the year. I'm very competitive, and many people try to avoid these reels because they are complicated. They are not as easy as your simple push button Zebco, and they have what you call a free spool. They will spin freely with you click the button to release the spool. And when lined up properly, they can be very user friendly. But if you do not know how to put the line on properly, they can be a headache. So today I want to show you how to do that. And start off by choosing your line correctly. I like to use at least a 10-pound line test all the way up to a 20-pound line test. It seems to work best for me with bass fishing. If you were doing fishing for maybe a catfish or anything bigger, you might want to use a little bit heavier line. But usually I try to stay in the 10 to 20-pound range with bass fishing. It helps with your casting, and it helps with being able to feel your bait in the water. So today I'm using Trilene Big Game 15-pound test. It's basically my all-around go-to line. I use other lines, but this typically is what I'll use for almost every application, and it's been used for years and years by fishermen all around the country. It's a very popular line. It's very inexpensive. I have, I want to say, 900 yards on this spool, and it cost me about 10 bucks. You can't beat that. So the way I like to start is I'll have a piece of tape on my spool. I don't know if you can see it, but I like to take that tape off and get my line free so I can put it on my rod and reel. And what I'll start with is this rod has eyelets all the way over to hold your line in place straight on the rod. And you have to take your line and put it through each one of these eyes. And if you miss an eye, it won't keep your line straight. So you have to be very careful and line these up properly throughout the eyes. Once you get this lined up through each one of the eyes, then you're going to put it through the eye on the reel. And that's another step that people seem to forget, that there is a eye on your reel as well, which is moved by your worm gear. The worm gear is farther down in the gears of the reel here, and it will move back and forth when you spin the handle, keeping your line straight on the spool. So now that you have all of your line on the eyelets of the rod, you need to take your line and stick it straight through that eyelet. You have to release the spool with that button on the bottom to allow your spool to spin freely. Once you get the line through that eye, there are holes down in the spool that you must stick your line in and to hold it in place. Once you place the line in those holes, you can take your spool of line and set it on the floor flat like this, so that when you begin to reel your line onto your reel, it will stay in place and allow your line to go into the reel tight. So I'm going to set this on the floor, and then I'll begin to reel. And as I'm reeling, I like to make sure that it's going on the spool smooth without kinking, and I'll typically keep my fingers on the line here to make sure it doesn't try to move around or anything. It stays straight. And I'll reel this up relatively quickly because once it gets started, it stays usually pretty straight. And once you line it up all the way, you will end up having a very smooth casting reel that works very well. It will continue to perform as long as you keep fresh line on there. And I typically would try to re-spool my line every month or so because the line begins to build up memory and it won't come off the reel as well. But if you follow all of these steps and make sure that you keep fresh line on your reel, you should be able to have a great day on the water. Thank you and good luck.